corrupt Joe Crowley had an interesting response to being called out for taking corporate PAC money. Look at this dodge.
When it came to the issue of Dodd-Frank, I bucked against the tide of Wall Street, big banks, when I supported, and not only supported, but helped author the Dodd-Frank legislation. And we can talk to Barney Frank. He'll tell you exactly how engaged I was in helping make that become law against the interests of Wall Street and the banks. I bucked the system when I supported the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and I know you have some issues with it. I stood shoulder to shoulder with Barack Obama to make sure that that became the law of the land, that now 131,000 people in this district now have insurance that didn't have prior to that. And we largely, Errol, I think, agree on the issues. There really isn't much daylight and separation between the two of us. But there is an issue where we do disagree, and that is on the issue of guns. Because my opponent has said that she doesn't believe that the laws of New York City should be or can be applicable necessarily to the laws of New Mexico. She said that the flexibility would need to be...
That's incorrect.
No,
where'd you get that?
People can read it on Reddit at a forum.
On Reddit?
On Reddit, on a forum that you participated in. But I just think that that's wrong. I think we need a national approach. We need to end bump stocks. We need to end automatic weapons and bring back the assault weapons ban. We need to have full background checks without any loopholes. That's the way in which I think we need to approach this issue. We just simply disagree.
So, aside from trolling internet forums, I think that one of the things that we need to really take a look at, let me make things very clear. I believe in a ban on assault weapons. I believe in a ban on bump stocks. Not only that, I also don't take money from private equity groups that have holdings in gun manufacturers either.
Okay, so that was a good response, but I love how slimy and disingenuous Joe Crowley is. So he acts like, me? No, me? I mean, I'm tough on Wall Street. I don't know what you mean. Dodd-Frank, I helped with Dodd-Frank. Why don't you tell people how you voted on the repeal of Glass-Steagall? Don't want to have that conversation, do you? Why don't you tell people what your take is on the Volcker Rule? Don't want to have that conversation either now, do you? So what I need everybody to understand is when Joe Crowley pretends like he's tough on Wall Street, that is a lie. That's a lie. Now, I'm somebody who likes to be kind in my interpretation of others' positions. So what I mean by that is I don't assume a lie when simply misstating would suffice. But this is an instance where there's no question about it. He's lying, and he's lying on purpose. So he left in the middle of a debate on Wall Street regulation to go raise money from Wall Street, and then he came back and voted against Wall Street regulation. It's not a question as to like, oh, is Joe Crowley sympathetic to Wall Street or not? It's a matter of fact that he's sympathetic to Wall Street, which is why he's one of the worst Democrats. So that is just, he's lying when he says stuff like that. And if people knew his real record, there's no way they'd support him. And then there was a clever little politician's trick he used there. I don't know if you caught it, but he brought up Obamacare and he said, well, you know, hey, look, I'm on the side of Obamacare. I've fought for Obamacare, and I know you have your problems with it, but it's so many more people have insurance now that didn't have it before. Now, why is that a slimy politician's trick? He's trying to drop the idea in the conversation that she's against healthcare reform, and I was for it. That's what he's trying to say. He, by the way, totally pre-planned. He planned at some point in this conversation to drop that line. Hey, I'm for Obamacare. All these people got coverage, and I know you have problems with it. Now, the full context is what? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has a problem with Obamacare because it doesn't go far enough. So, in other words, she wants to strengthen Obamacare and turn it into Medicare for all. So she wants to go further in reforming the healthcare system. But when he drops like, oh, I know you have problems with it, that's him trying to plant the seed in people's minds. Oh, is she against Obamacare? Why would she be against Obamacare? A slimy, slimy politician trick. And then notice, what issue did he have to go to in order to try to portray himself as leftier than thou? Because that's what he's trying to do here in this debate with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. No, I'm super progressive. I am, and I'm the incumbent. So just remember, I'm the incumbent, and I'm more progressive. Vote for me. He had to go to guns. And by the way, there is no Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez does support universal background checks. She does support a ban on high-capacity magazines. She does support a ban on assault weapons. That's all a matter of fact and a matter of public record. But the idea that there should be some variation and like, hey, Oklahoma's gun laws can be more lax than New York's gun laws, yeah, that any reasonable person would submit that. There is more of a cultural belief in guns in really rural red states. And even me, as somebody who's significantly on the left, even I acknowledge that that's a thing that should be the case. But Crowley is simply trying to do what he views as pandering to his constituents and trying to portray Ocasio-Cortez as, oh, she's a gun nut. That's the implication. This is the same shit that Hillary Clinton did to Bernie Sanders. Like, oh, you have a D rating from the NRA? Why isn't it an F? As if people are going to be sitting there like, oh, that Bernie Sanders is so pro-gun. Like, no, it's not true. But they have to go all the way to that issue to try to portray themselves as further to the left. Why? Because on every issue, she outlefts him. Medicare for all, free college, living wage, end the wars, New Deal, legalize marijuana, end the drug war, abolish ICE. You go down the list and she's on the proper side of it. So all he has is politicians' tricks. And I just need everybody to recognize that. And this is, of all the races, I think this is the closest one. You know, the Justice Democrats and Our Revolution and PCCC and all the left-wing groups, Working Families Party, there's about a 50% success rate in the elections so far. Okay? Now, that's pretty good, but it's also not as good as we'd like it to be, obviously. And the most upsetting thing so far is that most of the high-profile races have gone the wrong way, whether it's Paula Jean Swearengin or Allison Hartson or, you name it. So we'd like to get at least one high-profile. And this, to knock off one of the people who wants to be the next Democratic leader, that's what Joe Crowley wants to do. He wants to be the next Democratic leader. To knock off that guy would feel so good. And remember, Eric Cantor was knocked out by David Brat. So the Republican establishment guy in leadership was knocked out by an up-and-coming Republican who was more populist. Let's do the same fucking thing to Crowley, man. Let's do it. So, by the way, it's Ocasio2018.com/donate if you want to donate to her campaign. Help her out in these final however many days. And we wish her the best.